Hey everybody, welcome back to the SuperBake podcast. I'm your host, Baker. Let's talk about stuff. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Sorry, I know it's been a minute since my last episode. Things have just been kind of busy lately in my life, but I just had a few topics I wanted to talk about today, so I'll just kind of go into those a little bit. I mentioned a while back that I had been reading the Berserk manga. I had started that a little over a month ago, and I've been reading through those. I've actually been collecting the deluxe editions. If you've ever seen what those are, they're the big giant like leather-bound books, like that has like the black cover with like the symbol on the front for like it's like the brand that the character Guts has on his neck. So I've been reading those. I've read the first two deluxe editions, so I'm going to give my thoughts on the first one here. This isn't going to be a super in-depth like official review. This is just kind of my initial thoughts on it. I wanted to put together like an actual review video or a review podcast episode for it and do like a thumbnail, like in the art style of Kento Miura, the guy who created the manga series, but I just haven't really had a chance to do that. So this is just going to kind of be like my unofficial thoughts on that series. But before I go into it, I just want to say like I have seen the original anime series from like 1990, whatever. It was like the mid to late 90s from like Manga Entertainment. I did see that way back in the day. I watched the Golden Age arc. It was basically the original anime that was readapted like in like the 2010s. I think it's on Netflix. It's like 3 different movies. I think it's called the Golden Age arc, based off the same arc from the manga. I did watch those movies, which were really good. I liked those. I liked the old 90s anime. I actually really liked the 90s anime a lot, although when I first saw it, I saw it probably like 10 some odd years ago. And I had no idea there was a manga series. That was like before I really paid that much attention to manga and comics in general. So when I got to the end of that anime series, I was kind of like, what the fuck? If you've ever seen it, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. But now I know that there's this whole big background story behind it. So I know there was another anime series in like 2017 that came out. It was like 3D animation, but I heard it wasn't very good. So I kind of skipped that one. Unfortunately, right now, it seems like the only real way to really see or experience the Berserk story is in the original manga series, which I think started in like the late 80s, like in 89 or something. So, been reading that. I don't know how many chapters I am into it, but I've read the first 2 deluxe editions. So, I am through the first half of like the Golden Age arc. And yeah, this series kicks ass. It is fucking awesome. First of all, it might be the best manga series I've read, just in terms of like the way it looks. I love Miura's art style, just that heavy ink style. And especially reading it from the beginning, it is interesting to see how his style has evolved throughout the decades. Like it definitely kind of has like sort of an 80s look to it, but like, I think a lot of anime and manga back in the 80s had kind of a distinct look to it, with like the puffy hair and the way they drew like the characters' eyes and their body models and stuff like that, like the shapes of the characters. There was definitely a unique look the 80s had in terms of anime. But Miura's, even though it has a little bit of that, he definitely has his own unique style, like the heavy ink, the dark tones of each frame, like just how he relies on. There's a lot of just like dark shading in every frame, and it's really cool. It's quite remarkable. I think I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that like Berserk was like the big it was like the thing that kind of inspired From Software's games, which like Dark Souls and stuff, which looking at it, you know, after playing a few of those games, I kind of see that a little bit. But anyways, yeah, Reddit, the Black Swordsman arc, I'll just kind of talk about that just sort of briefly. Yeah, it kicks ass. It was so cool. Like I love Guts' character in there. I love how he's kind of like this. He's kind of an asshole, but like he's also, you can tell he's a good guy. He genuinely cares about characters like Puck. I like Puck. Reading about his character in the manga, I'm actually very surprised he was not even mentioned in the anime series whatsoever. I think he's in the 2017 3D animation series, but I haven't seen that, so I can't really speak to that. But yeah, like his character, I like him and Guts. I like their relationship. It kind of makes me think of Link and Navi from Legend of Zelda in a sense. But yeah, like I like how he's like the healer. He heals Guts. He takes care of his wounds and stuff like that. And one thing I like about Guts' character, at least from what I've read of him right now, is that I like how he's mainly just a regular guy. Like he's insanely strong, like almost superhuman strong, I would say. But I like how there's really nothing supernatural about him. There's nothing particularly special about him beyond his strength and fighting abilities. He's just mainly just a really strong, normal human being, which is cool. I like that about him. I like his design too. Like I like his cape, his black cape that he wears. I like his little. It's not really a robotic arm. It's kind of like Ash's arm from Army of Darkness, where it has that built-in cannon and stuff. That's really cool. Of course, you kind of suspend your disbelief for the fact that he can move it around and swing his sword with it, but still, I like his giant sword. It's actually funny. Like my character that I created in Elden Ring, I actually used I don't know what it's called, but it's basically Guts' sword in the game. I actually found that sword and use it, and it's pretty badass. It feels cool running around like Guts and swinging that giant sword and just cleaving stuff in two. But yeah, I like the first arc. It's really like I like the main villains that we're introduced to, like the apostles that are like these weird like demon, like people that can turn into demons and stuff like that. We're introduced to the snake apostle, who's really creepy and disgusting. And that scene where he's like eating, like he's having that dinner, but his dinner is like parts of people. That was really creepy. Like when he throws that ear at that dude, like that was kind of funny, but also just like really disgusting. His character was cool. I like his design, like when he transforms, like it's really gross looking, like his snake form, but it's also like disturbing as well. I like the apostle characters in there too. Like their designs are so interesting. Particularly, well, I don't want to get into this one quite yet because he hasn't been introduced, but I love Zod. God, his character is like one of my favorites. His design is so fucking badass when he transforms. Like he looks pretty menacing in his human form, but God, when he transforms, he's like this giant, just like gargoyle-esque monster. He's like if you took Beast from Beauty and the Beast and combined him with like a gargoyle. He's so fucking cool. But anyways, and just kind of a little side note too, the main villain in the Black Swordsman arc, the Slug Count, I don't remember if they say what his name is. I remember seeing him from the original anime series from the 90s, and like he's in there very briefly, but he doesn't have any lines. So it's really crazy seeing seeing this whole other side to his character in the manga that I wasn't even aware of. Like he doesn't have any speaking lines in the anime series, even though he has a pretty big part in the Eclipse. So seeing his background character in this, for me, like especially after watching the anime series and not knowing anything about him, was really interesting. Like seeing him from this new angle. Also, dude, man, Guts gets the shit kicked out of him like a lot. I mean, I know he's got Puck there to heal him and stuff, but my God, he's only supposed to be a regular human being. I mean, I don't understand how he doesn't like shatter his teeth when he swings his sword with his mouth. It's like, dude, you're not Zoro from One Piece. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I like his character. He's like one of the most disgusting characters in the show. Like the way he eats people. Oh my God. And that part where he like spits that slug out on one of his soldiers, what's his name? Zondark? Whatever. I can't remember what his name is. Mandark? Dexter's Lab. But he spits that slug out into his face. Oh my God. There are so many frames in that manga that I could just go back and like, I want to go and just draw them because of just the amount of detail that are on them. It's just insane. But I like his character. I like the design of his character, especially again, when he's in his apostle form, his giant slug form. He's just this giant, looks like something that would be in a Dark Souls video game. And his fight with Guts is really cool. I like the emotion in the manga too. Like the biggest thing that surprised me was like how Miura made like the slug count actually kind of a not relatable character, but like you actually kind of found yourself feeling sorry for him towards the end, which I don't want to go into too much for anyone who hasn't read it. But yeah, like when you see like the parts with him and his daughter, and especially like when the real villains are introduced, the God Hand, man, that shit was crazy. Like that whole scene. And again, I knew who the God Hand was from watching the 90s anime. I knew who Griffith was, so I knew who these characters were. But I can only imagine, like, from somebody reading that back in, like, the 80s, that shit must have been fucking mind-blowing to see that. I thought I heard somewhere that Miura based the Apostles off of the Cenobites from Hellraiser. I don't know which came first. I don't know if he was working on Berserk before Hellraiser came out or vice versa, but I think Hellraiser came out in 85, I think, which I think would have preceded Berserk. So I'm not sure, but I definitely can see the inspiration there. They definitely make me think of like the Cenobites if they were like if they were put into manga form. The God Hand are definitely creepy too. Their designs are interesting for sure. With Void, the fucking guy with the brain thing sticking out of his head, he's the most disgusting. But God, they're all interesting. Like I just want to know more about these characters. Like that whole scene where like they have like their confrontation with them and like their that other dimension, and then like you get to see like their version of hell that shows up. Man, that was intense. And then like when the Count has to like sacrifice his daughter to them, man, like I'm not gonna lie, like watching that, because I'd never seen that from any anime adaptation, I genuinely did not know what was gonna happen, and it had me on the edge of my seat. So I definitely understand the hype this has gotten. It really makes me sad that Kento Miura passed away. I think, was it last year or the year before that? So that's really sad to hear. Just because the fact that he didn't get to finish his work. I would have loved to have seen like what Berserk, like where he would have taken the story. I think my understanding is he worked with a studio and he's got a lot of like other artists that work with him, and they've worked with him long enough that they can replicate his artwork, and I think they had a pretty good idea of what direction the story was going in. So hopefully they'll be able to take it in a good direction and finish it in a way that will honor the memory of Miura. But it does make me really sad that he passed away. One, because he wasn't very old. I think he was only like in his mid 50s. So that was definitely sad to hear that. And also too, like I said, it's sad to see somebody, it's sad to see someone like that go regardless. But also, just the fact that he'll never get to see, his work completed. And I definitely, it's sad to see that, but I'm glad that he was able to give us, at least this much of Berserk, because I think it's definitely, his work speaks for itself. It's incredible. So yeah, I definitely plan on continuing to read it. Like I said before, I don't think this is going to be something I'm going to do every month, maybe just every once in a while, because I have technically finished the second volume, but I don't know when I'm going to put up my thoughts on that one just yet. I just kind of want to record my thoughts on like the Black Swordsman arc, just to kind of get that out there. But yeah, if you have not read the Berserk series, definitely check it out. I think that it is fantastic. It's kind of expensive. That's kind of the other reason why I am not going to be doing this too often for Berserk, because each deluxe edition is like $50. I only got the two that I got because I had a couple of gift cards for Barnes & Noble. So if I can find them for better deals elsewhere, like I'll probably check on Amazon and stuff. But yeah, I definitely recommend them. They kick ass. But anyways, yeah, like that was kind of my overall thoughts on the on Volume 1 of the Black Swordsman arc. Really enjoyed it. I definitely plan on continuing this series. This is actually probably the first real official manga comic series that I've actually sat down and really started to read. Like I've never really done that before, so I'm excited this is going to be like my first official one that I'm going to do. So as for my next topic, I wanted to talk kind of quickly about Baldur's Gate 3, which came out a couple weeks ago on the PC. And I think it comes out next month on the PlayStation 5. I think it comes out on September 6th, I believe, for the PlayStation 5. I don't have a gaming PC, so I haven't been able to play it yet. So I'll be getting it on console when it comes out next month. Yeah, this game has been really kicking ass lately. I can't remember how many people have been playing it, or what the sales are, but I know I think right now it's a pretty big contender for like Game of the Year. And I've just been seeing nothing but like high marks for this game, like damn near like perfect scores across the board. And basically it's like, my understanding is it's Dungeons and Dragons in video game form. I did not play any of the original games at all. I wasn't even really familiar with the Baldur's Gate series at all. I think 2 came out in the year 2000 or something, so like 23 years ago. Let's see. Baldur's Gate 3 hits 875,000 concurrent players and topping Steam sales charts. Damn, that's insane. And I think that was like 875,000 in like one day, basically. Like, essentially, that's the number of people that were playing it at one time. That's fucking crazy. It sold over as of on August 6th, it looks like it was recorded that it sold 2.5 million copies. Yeah, that's a success. That's a commercial success right there. I've seen a lot of controversy with it. Like, there's that whole thing about the person having sex with the bear, because I guess there's a druid in the game that can transform. I don't know if it's the player or if it's an NPC, but I know that's gotten people talking about it. People want to play the game just to experience that scene, but I love Dungeons and Dragons. I used to play with a few of my buddies way back in the day, and it is a lot of fun, but it's kind of a hassle to get going just because you kind of got to get your character sheets ready. You got to create your character, pick your class, your race, all that stuff, get your stats figured out and all that shit. But it is a lot of fun. And so this game, I guess my understanding is it basically is Dungeons and Dragons, but in video game form. Like, you've got your dice roll that you do to like move and attack and, do like checks, like perception checks, things like that. Like, I've seen a little bit of the gameplay footage for it. And I know I don't really know a whole lot about the story. I'm trying to refrain from like knowing too much about this game before I play it. I probably am going to pick this up. I am a little nervous. I wonder how it's going to be like for consoles. Larian Studios, it sounds like they've really taken the time to put the extra polish on this game, and I have not heard anything bad about it, like as far as like how it runs technically on PC. So I'm sure they probably have. I'm sure they've worked very hard to make sure that it will run on consoles, no problem. But man, like, they are just kicking ass. And I'm really happy to see this because I for one, I don't think Larian Studios is a very big gaming company. I don't know a whole lot about them. Baldur's Gate is the only series that I'm aware that they've made. They may have made other games. I'm not really sure. But man, it's really cool to see like them getting the recognition for this game. Because it sounds like this game was very similar to like Tears of the Kingdom, where technically Larian Studios had it finished, but they really wanted to take time to put the extra polish on there. That was the same situation with Tears of the Kingdom. Like, Nintendo technically finished it last year in 2022, and they could have released it, but they really wanted to take that extra time to try to iron out as many of the bugs and defects that they could to make sure that when the game was released, it was as high quality as it could be for the gamers. And I really hope that this is a sign of things to come for games. And that actually kind of brings me to kind of another topic, well, a subtopic, because it's talking about Baldur's Gate. I don't know who it was, but I guess apparently there's been some developers, like some big AAA developers who I guess have been, bitching about Baldur's Gate 3. They've been upset because I guess it sounds like people are so impressed with this game and they love it so much that it's such a massive game too. Like, I don't know how long it's supposed to take to play through the entire story. I think I saw on howlongtobeat.com, if you just focus on the main story, it's like 40 hours. But the thing is, it's Dungeons and Dragons, so obviously people are going to re-roll and they're going to play other classes. Like, I'm sure when I play, I'll probably play a mage first, or a wizard, because that was my class when I played in D&D. But I'll probably play other classes too, like rogue, druid, healer, things like that. But like, I guess there's been a lot of other AAA developers who have been, bitching about it, saying that like now this game is setting like some new benchmark for how players are going to expect their games moving forward. And I kind of think that's bullshit, honestly. Like, you don't need to make a game like Baldur's Gate 3. We don't expect that every single time. We just expect quality games. There's plenty of games out there that have been made that I wouldn't necessarily consider like on the same level as Baldur's Gate, at least maybe not in terms of like technical polish or anything like that, but they were still really good games. Like, Tears of the Kingdom is a perfect example. I mean, granted, I think it's a fantastic game in its own right, and it is a big game. It's a big open world game. But like, Nintendo took their time with it. They took their time to make sure that the game was as polished as it could be. They didn't rush through it. They didn't try to do what I think a lot of gaming studios are doing right now, where they're just like, they're trying to push games out as quickly as they can to make money. And then they release a game that often is not finished, and then we get a bunch of like these bullshit updates and patches, like day one patches, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, the game is going to run at like, 15 frames per second. There's going to be tons of bugs and, texture pop-ins and things like that. But we promise with this day one patch, it's going to fix all that, and then the game will run at suboptimal level. And and I think people are just getting tired of that. I know that I am. Like, it's kind of the reason why anymore I often don't buy games on day one release, because it just seems like they have so many issues when they first release. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen games that come out and people are excited for them, and then they come out and they're just mired in issues. Like, they're just drowning in like technical problems. Like Cyberpunk 2077 is a perfect example of that. Like, now, from what I understand, it runs fine. I haven't really played it, so I don't know for sure. I know they've got a big DLC coming out, which I think is supposed to change a lot of the game. But that's a great example of like a game that was like, it was from CD Projekt Red, which I don't think they're a big AAA studio. I don't think. I'm not really sure, but I know they're the same people that made Witcher. But anyways, like, it came out, people were really excited about it because Witcher 3 is a phenomenal game. People were really looking forward to it because of that game's success. And it was just a huge, like, the game itself actually is really good now that it's working. And that's the problem. When it came out, it was clearly not finished. It was a technical mess. Like, I remember watching gameplay footage of it, and it was just, I mean, it was insane, the number of issues that game had. Like, there was one gameplay footage I saw where this guy was driving his car through the city, and at several points, his character model would pop in and out of the car, like through the roof, just randomly. And it just kept happening at random times while he was driving down the street. And there were tons of other issues like that too. Like, there were issues where they couldn't complete side quests because NPCs wouldn't show up. They wouldn't be where they were supposed to be. They would be in some random part of the city. Or like something would just happen that would just prevent them from completing the quest. I saw there's this channel on YouTube called Skill Up where they did a review of it, and I really like that channel. If you haven't seen Skill Up, definitely check them out. They're really good. I like his review of Cyberpunk was, I thought, really good and in depth, and just some of the gameplay footage I saw of that was just, it was insane, like how clearly unfinished the game was. And I think anymore, people are just getting tired of that shit. We're getting tired of, for the money that we pay for games, we're getting tired of like studios like being so focused on release windows instead of trying to produce a quality game. I'm perfectly okay with a studio taking a little extra time to really try to iron out a game and put that extra level of polish on there. Like Tears of the Kingdom. Like, yeah, of course I want the game to come out sooner rather than later. But if a studio is just honest and says, yeah, we could release this game today, but we really want to take a few extra months to really kind of work through some features that we want to add in there and fix some technical issues that we've been noticing. And we just want to make sure that we're releasing this as complete and high quality as we can to our consumers. I would totally understand that, and I would be completely on board with that. But we get these game studios who they're so obsessed with the bottom line and getting these games out the door as fast as they can. And I get it, especially when you're talking about these big studios. They have an obligation to their shareholders. They've got to make a profit. They have to make so much money every year, but it doesn't change the fact that they release these games that just are clearly not finished. And considering games are just getting more expensive, I mean, games were always expensive, but now they're like fucking, you're paying $75, $80 for a game. And that's just the base game. That's not even like some super special fuck me edition, that you're going to get. That's going to be like another $80, $90. It's like the basic game is still going to be like $70 at least. And then, of course, Nintendo, who never has sales on their games, they pretty much charge full price for games. Yeah, like, I'm paying this amount of money for this game. I expect a game that works, And you have games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, that, in my opinion, at least Tears of the Kingdom, because I've played that one so far, it's worth full price because it's a good game. You're getting your money's worth. Like, anymore, like, I don't buy games day one. I wait at least a few months, sometimes even a year before I get a game, because then you get a game that it's had all the patches released, it's had all the updates, so it runs great. It's usually a lot cheaper. Like, I just played Metro Exodus, and I really liked that game. And that game came out in, 2019? And I got it on the PlayStation Store, and it was like, I paid like $8 for it. $8. And it was a fantastic fucking value. Like, totally got my money's worth for it. It's like, yeah, anymore, if you're just patient, you can get a good game for less expensive. It'll have everything figured out. Like all the issues will be fixed. And sometimes you'll even get the DLC. I did the same thing with like Horizon Zero Dawn. I played that game at least a year or two after it came out. And it was like during a Black Friday sale. And I got like the complete edition with all the DLC for like $20. It was an amazing deal. And I fucking loved that game. Like, yeah, like game studios, like they don't need to produce like Baldur's Gate 3. You can produce a game that's not as big as like these huge open world games. Just make sure your game is compelling and interesting. Like make sure it has a good story, it has well-written characters. And number two, and also make sure it's actually fun to play. Hades is a great example of that. I fucking love Hades. And that's not a big game. I played that game on the Switch, and it's like one of my favorite games ever. And it's not a big game. The studio that made it, Supergiant Games, like they're a small studio, but they took their time to really make the game as polished as they could, and the results speak for themselves. Yeah, like we need more of that. I think that's what people are kind of getting at with Baldur's Gate 3. We don't want games that are like as big as Baldur's Gate necessarily, but we want games that have the same level of care and passion put into them. I think that's what a lot of gamers are looking for. At least that's how I feel. And I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people are probably in the same camp as me. So, but yeah, that's kind of all I had to say on Baldur's Gate 3. I'm excited for it. I'm definitely going to check it out when it comes out next month for sure. Also, I think Spider-Man 2 comes out next month as well. Starfield comes out as well, but I don't have an Xbox, so I'm probably not going to, I don't know, like, I don't want to buy an Xbox just for that game, for one game, but there is Hi-Fi Rush, and I am interested in that, but yeah, I just kind of want to give my thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3. Anybody out there, if you've, like, listening to this podcast, if you've played it, like, feel free to let me know your thoughts, like comment on my YouTube channel and kind of let me know, like, is this game, would you say it's worth paying full price? Would you say maybe wait a while on it? Because I really love Dungeons and Dragons. Unfortunately, I don't think none of my friends will be playing this game, at least not right away. So I'll probably be playing by myself for a while, but I can live with that. But yeah, just let me know your thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3 for anyone out there listening who's played it so far. Like, you know, if you like it, if you recommend it, I definitely want to know on that. Okay. Next topic I want to talk about, this is going to be kind of a short topic. I just wanted to just briefly talk about the success of the Barbie movie starring Margot Robbie. If you had told me a year ago that this movie was going to be as successful as it is, I probably would have never believed you. But my God, this movie is kicking ass. I think, yeah, as of right now, so the movie had a budget of like somewhere between $128 to $145 million. And as of right now, as of recording this podcast, it has made about $1.2 billion. And it came out, let's see, July 21st in theaters. So it's only been out for about 2-3 weeks. That is insane that it's made that much money in such a short amount of time. It's made more money in 3 weeks than most movies make in their entire runtime in theaters and in the global box office. That's insane. I have not seen it yet. I don't know if I'll go see it in theaters. But I know about the whole meme with Barbenheimer because it came out the same time as Oppenheimer. I might check this out when it's on streaming, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have heard it is pretty good. I've heard Margot Robbie's good. I've heard Ryan Gosling's good. Everyone in the movie that I've heard is in there is actually pretty good. Whoa, Kate McKinnon? Holy shit, I didn't know she was in there. I'm kind of looking at the cast list as I'm looking at this. Helen Mirren, did I see her in the trailer? That sounds familiar. I can't remember. But yeah, it looks... Will Ferrell? Was he in the trailer? I can't remember that. That's hilarious. But yeah, I've heard it's pretty good. I've heard it's a fun movie. And of course, now the fact that it's made so much money, that pretty much equals there's going to be a sequel. There's probably going to be at least a few sequels. I'm trying to see, is there anything about I'm trying to see if I can find anything on the Wikipedia page as far as sequels go. So far, I can't find anything. Well, it just released, so there's probably nothing yet, but you mark my words. I'm calling it right now. It's made this much money. There's no way in hell Hollywood is not going to make at least 2 or 3 sequels from this movie. I also didn't realize how far Barbie goes back. I guess for some reason I always thought Barbie was came out around the time that I was born, like in the mid to late 80s, but I guess Barbie's been around since like the 50s. I had no idea. So I guess it makes sense. I mean, you're going to have people, who grew up with Barbie from like, different generations coming to see this movie. Like, people who are middle-aged who grew up with Barbie when they were kids, and then they're bringing their kids and grandkids to go see it. So I remember me and my buddy when we went to go see Oppenheimer at this smaller theater, we were leaving, and I mean, just there were like parents walking in with like their kids, with like their little girls, and there's just pink everywhere. And me and my buddy just looked at each other. We were just like, yeah, we know what they're here to see. But yeah, it's insane how well this movie's doing. And I mean, good for them. I mean, that's cool. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see the success this movie's getting. I'm not going to lie, when I first heard about it, and even when I first saw the trailer, I kind of thought this was going to be a huge flop. I really didn't have a lot of faith in this movie, but it's definitely proving me wrong. I guess it turns out Hollywood can make interesting, compelling movies. Of course, it also doesn't hurt that this movie had a big following. Like Barbie, the merchandise had a big following before this movie even came out. I mean, the whole movie is probably just one big giant product placement commercial. So, I mean, yeah, like kind of like the Transformers films, the G.I. Joe films, which I never saw those. I don't think they did that well. But Transformers for a while was one of the biggest movies or franchises in cinema history for a while, like in the late 2000s. So maybe this is the era of the Barbie movies where we get like Transformers, like as that series dies out, maybe we're going to start getting like Barbie 1, 2, 3, a whole trilogy of Barbie films. Man, that's funny. I'm just kind of curious, what is the plot of this movie? She like comes into like the real world, I think, or something like that. Let's see. At a dance party, Barbie is suddenly stricken with worries about morality or mortality. Okay. I thought it said morality, like, what is she, a murderer? Is she going to start debating killing people? That would be a hell of a movie. Oh my God, I'm trying to think, like, that plot twist would be insane. Like, okay, we got a movie. It's Barbie. She's a serial killer. I feel like there's going to be at least one sick Hollywood exec who's going to be like, you have my attention. It's like Child's Play, but with Barbie. Let's make it happen. And then Hollywood's just like, you son of a bitch, let's do it. Okay, well, I'm not going to read the whole thing out for you guys, but yeah, I just kind of want to talk about that real quick. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing about, the success of that movie. Okay, my last topic that I wanted to talk about real quick is the trailer came out recently for the new Castlevania series on Netflix, Castlevania Nocturne. Holy shit, this looks so cool. I'm so pumped for this. I love the Castlevania series on Netflix. 4 seasons. If you have not seen it, it is amazing. It's pretty short too. You can get through the entire thing pretty fast. It's a quick watch, especially since the first season I think is only like 4 episodes. Season 1 and 2 are really kind of the same season, honestly. Man, like that show kicked so much ass. I love the animation studio that did it. I can't remember who it was, but they're really good. I might look them up real quick while I'm talking. They've animated other stuff that I like too. But yeah, I mean, Nocturne looks really good. It's supposed to be, my understanding is it's supposed to be a sequel to the original series. It comes out September 28th, so next month, a little over a month from now. Powerhouse Animation Studios, that's them. Okay. It's supposed to be based on, I guess, the old game Castlevania Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. Yeah, so it follows Richter Belmont, who's supposed to be a descendant of Trevor and Sypha from the original series. And man, it looks so cool. Again, it's got that same awesome, really cool looking animation from the original series. It looks like, it's the same vampire hunting shenanigans that we expect from it. It looks like there's a character in the trailer who kind of makes me think of Sypha, the way she's like flinging icicles around and shit. So yeah, like it also looks like it's going to have the same gore that the original had. Like you see Richter swinging his whip around, cracking it, and he's cracking like vampire skulls in half with it and stuff like that. Like some really sick looking fight scenes in there. I also like how, and again, I've never played Castlevania, so I don't know the story too well. I like the introduction of the villain in the trailer. At least I'm assuming it's the villain who he threatens Richter when he's a kid and tells him that he's going to kill him, but not right now. He's going to do it, later on, which that was interesting. That kind of seems like it sets up a really interesting dilemma for his character. As far as Richter's design go, I mean, he looks pretty cool. I like how he kind of makes me think of like a cross between Sypha and Trevor, because like his clothes that he wears, it has like the Belmont symbol on it. It's like it's blue, which makes you think of like of Sypha's color, like her clothing from the original series. So I'm kind of wondering if he's going to use like maybe talents from both Trevor and Sypha, like a little bit of magic as well as like the Morning Star whip. So I can't wait for this. I love the original series so much. It kicks so much ass. Season 2 of the original Castlevania series, I maintain, is one of the best animated series I've ever seen. That fight between them and Dracula at the end of season 2, God, that is like one of the sickest fights ever. I love it so much. Like seasons 1 through 2 of the original series are just incredible. So I am super excited about this. I really wanted there to be more seasons of the original, so I'll take what I can get. Even though this isn't going to be the same characters, I'm still happy to see this, and I'm definitely going to be tuning in and probably giving my thoughts on it for sure. I need to renew my Netflix subscription because I need to watch The New Witcher. Even though I've been seeing that it's been getting some harsh criticism from across the board, I still want to watch it. I like Henry Cavill. I want to support him. I like, he's a cool guy. He seems like he's kind of the king of the nerds, just because he's kind of a nerd too. Like he's really into like games like Warhammer and stuff. So I really want to support him and watch that show, but I just don't know when that's going to happen. I am watching Succession right now. I'm almost through the first season, so I'll probably be giving my thoughts on that here in the near future. As of right now, just to kind of briefly talk about it, it's good. I can't really say it's won me over. There's no real one particular character that I like. They all seem kind of terrible. I guess Greg seems like the most relatable person right now. I kind of feel sorry for him just with the way Tom's treating him. God, Tom's character, he is so fucking weird. He is hilarious, though. He's probably one of the best characters on the show, but he is such a piece of shit character. Roman's kind of funny, but he's also like kind of a horrible person, too. They're all kind of just terrible people. And then, like, man, Logan, like the main guy played by Brian Cox, he is just such a he's a monster. He is a horrible human being. But I don't know, it's kind of a slow burn show. Like, I can't really say that it's like incredibly intense. It's intense, but it's intense in sort of like that, like office politics drama kind of way, because of the fact that they all work for that big news conglomerate or something like that. So yeah, like I kind of want to wait until I get through the rest of the season before I give my official thoughts on it. As of right now, I would just say I like it. It's just it hasn't really blown me away yet. So I guess I'm kind of just waiting for that wow factor moment. But all right, guys. Well, I think that's going to conclude this episode. This is just me kind of rambling on about a bunch of stuff. So, once again, if you like what you heard, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you all next time. Later.